Hi, I'm Sarah from SidetrackSarah.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make 5 healthy, low-carb crock-pot freezer meals or instant pot freezer meals. But first, before I do that, I'm going to throw in our family's dinner because we are hungry and I have been trying to get this done all day and I haven't had a chance to do it. So I'm going to start with this white chicken chili, and it starts with 3 or 4 chicken breasts that I'm going to put in, and then a teaspoon, actually 2 teaspoons of chili powder. Just make sure you get that on most of the pieces of chicken. Sprinkle it really well across them all. I'm going to turn them over. And then a teaspoon of garlic powder and a teaspoon of cumin. And then all we're going to do now is we're going to do a 1/2 cup of chicken broth. And I'm going to dump these 2 cans of diced green chilies over the top. And then I'm going to put the lid on. And since I started with my chicken from frozen, so I'm going to cook mine a little bit longer than I would if it was thawed. It's going to cook for about, I'm going to do 20 minutes just so it shreds nicely. If yours was thawed whenever you start, you could easily do 10 minutes and then natural release for 10 minutes. Okay, then we're gonna hit the pressure cook button because I have an 8-quart right now. Your Instant Pot may say manual instead of pressure cook. And so then just make sure it's on 20 minutes, and once that's set, make sure your valve is set to sealing, not venting. And once the pressure builds up, it should start the countdown here. But until then, it will say on. Alright, so I'm getting started on some of the freezer meals that I'm planning to do. And what I'm doing is I've gotten started with browning my hamburger meat. So I'm going to move the camera where you won't see my face for a minute so you can see what I'm doing down here on the stove. Alright, so I've got this browning, and I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of onion powder to it just to give it some nice flavor. And this is going to be for the Bolognese and zoodles recipe that we're going to have. Now you won't see me getting the zoodles ready because that'll be done on cooking day or on eating day, but I can turn that up a little. This will be for the sauce. And then as you saw earlier, I had the white chicken chili was beginning cooking, but I also need to heat up melt some butter and cream cheese. I don't know if you can see that butter and cream cheese. There's 3 tablespoons of butter and a container of cream cheese. And once that melts, I'm going to stir it together and add some heavy cream. You can see that there. And a little bit of sour cream. So we're just going to be stirring this for a little bit before we get going on filling the freezer bags. Alright, the timer went off on this, and since I did mine for 20 minutes, I'm not going to let it natural release. I'm going to go ahead and quick release it by just turning this valve to venting. So I took off the lid, and it's steaming like crazy, but once all the steam goes away, my overhead camera will hopefully be able to see what we're doing. It might be a little steamy still on the overhead, but basically I'm taking these scissors and I'm gonna cut these little pieces of chicken up with the scissors right here in the thing. You can get them out if you want to, but I'm not picky about the size and shape. Well, I'm a little picky about the size of my pieces of chicken, but overall I'm just looking for a good shredded or small pieces, and I find it easier just to add it, or to do the scissors right here in the pot. So that's what I'm doing. Takes just a little bit. I have 4 pieces of chicken in here. It called for 3, but I'm trying to stretch it just a little bit more so that we have enough for our whole family. We'll see if I'm successful or not. So you can kind of see the piece size now. It pretty much looks shredded. All right, so that looks really good. Now, all we have to do is add in the cream sauce that I mixed up on the stove, and then we will serve it in bowls and top it with some cheese and maybe some red onions. So here's the cheese sauce. It's like I showed you before. It's cream cheese, butter, and sour cream and heavy cream. So it is very creamy, but it's going to create a really yummy chili. Low carb chili is hard to come by because usually our chili has beans in it, and we don't know what to do without the beans. So this is a good alternative. Okay, we're back. I had a major change of plans from the beginning of this video. It turns out that I did not finish assembling these the evening that I started, whenever I started this video. In fact, I ate another meal and I didn't get photographs or video of it, so I'm only gonna do 4 more for my freezer, and one of them I'll probably serve tomorrow night. So I'll probably put it in my fridge instead, so it'll be thawed and ready to go. But one thing I recommend if you're going to be assembling several meals, I recommend laying out your ingredients in order that you'll need to use them. You don't have to do what I did. I took each item and I just put them in here so it would be easy to, like in different containers, so it would be easy to show you what I'm doing. But if you just get them out and stack them in order of use, then that will be really simple. All right, so the 4 recipes we are going to assemble are creamy chicken Italian soup, pork chops with herb sauce, Bolognese sauce, and it's going to be served over zoodles, and then low carb orange chicken. I have each recipe laid out right here. All right, so we're going to start first. I put the creamy chicken Italian soup on here first. You can see that from the overhead camera. These are the Jacari bag holders that I put this in, and you can get them on Amazon. I'll link to them below. They're handy for holding up the bags. They do topple the more stuff you get into them, so you have to be a little bit careful. And sometimes I'll use 2 just to hold, or just 1 to hold open a bag and another one on each side, rather than putting the bag in the middle. But you can do whatever works best for you. So for this recipe, it's just a soup, so we usually just put lamb, I guess. Make sure you can see overhead, sorry about that. So I'm putting 4 in because I have a big family and I usually stretch mine just a little bit. You can do what's best for your family, is fine. I'm gonna wash my hands first though. I was supposed to have put some coconut milk in, and I forgot to buy it at the store, so I'm going to skip that and add it on the day I decide to cook it. I'm just gonna have to write myself a note on the bag. And then, okay, so I'm gonna do a cup of chicken broth and a can of diced tomatoes. And then we do this 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. And then I got a couple tablespoons of Italian seasoning and a tablespoon of basil. And then I think what we can't see is this on my menu is this, I think it's a tablespoon of minced garlic. So this is going to make some really good soup, especially after we add the can of coconut milk. Actually, I had onions sitting here. I wasn't sure if it was for this recipe or the one next to it, so but I read that recipe and it looks like they go in there as well. So now that is that meal. It's complete. And if that chicken wasn't frozen, it would be much easier to swish around to get all of the spices in there. But since it is, I just do it a little bit. It wasn't actually that hard, but you'll want to do it a little bit more on cooking day. So now that that's complete, I just get all the air out of it before I seal it, and then I just set it aside till I'm ready to put it all away. That's the first recipe. That was quick, see? Of course, if you have someone helping you, that is really handy, especially when it comes to gathering the ingredients. The next one we're going to do is this Bolognese sauce. It's like a spaghetti sauce, really, if you've never heard that term. We're going to serve it over zoodles, but we won't make the zoodles. And zoodles are zucchini noodles. It's like, you can serve them raw with sauce over them, or you can serve them with just slightly steamed. I like mine raw. It tastes really good. It's got a good consistency, and you don't really notice it's not spaghetti noodles. I'll probably show another video soon on how I make those. So anyway, that took 1.5 pounds of ground beef. I actually cooked this ground beef in seasonings, but then whenever I got it out of the fridge, it was covered with grease. So I took I kind of rinsed my meat off after I heated it up a little bit to get rid of all the grease. So I'm going to add the same seasonings that I cooked it in because I think it'll taste really well. It's 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, and 5 basil leaves. Now on cooking day, you're going to want to take out the basil leaves. They're not good to eat. I mean, I've heard stories that if you swallow one, it can cut the insides of your esophagus, but I'm not exactly sure if that's true. So regardless, just take it out and don't take that chance. All right, so now the recipe calls for 22 ounces of diced tomatoes and 1.5 cups of tomato sauce. This is 15 ounces, which is almost 2 cups of tomato sauce. I'm gonna use the whole thing because my family can always use a stretched recipe, and this is a 28 ounce can of diced tomatoes. I'm using the whole thing there as well for the same reason. And then it also called for red wine. I only had a little tiny bit of cooking wine, so I'm adding sherry instead, thinking that should give that extra taste that we're looking for, hopefully. And then that's all. Now you can salt and pepper to taste. I usually wait and add the salt and pepper after it's cooked because our family likes things quite a bit different. Like my husband likes it way saltier and peppered than I do, so I just leave it and we all fix it how we like it. But if your family likes, I mean, I do put salt in, don't get me wrong, sometimes. It just depends. If it's a recipe that says salt to taste, I just wait. If it's something that's specific, I will put it in that day. But then if you can see how I got all the air out, and then whenever I freeze it, I try to get it looking just as flat as I possibly can so I can fit it into the freezer and stack as many of them on as I can, like that. I'm gonna add that over here. Also, you want to make sure that you get those really good and sealed because otherwise you might spring a leak. And the more liquidy it is, the worse that leak can be. All right, I'm gonna use this one. This is pork chops with herb sauce. I'm just gonna try using this. These aren't working out for me too much today because I have some heavier ones. But let's see how that goes. Got a big pack of pork chops. This one calls for 2 pounds. And I actually bought 2.5 pounds, but I'm gonna follow this theme, and I usually do a little more than what most recipes call for to make our meals stretch, and that always works for me. So you're gonna hear me repeat that over and over. But now you can choose to trim the fat off. I'm a time-saving person, so I just stick it in and we trim it later whenever we're eating. So I'm just gonna put, the original recipe also called for bone-in pork chops, but I found that I don't like freezing it as well now unless it's boneless. So I just stick with that one. All right, I don't need that now to keep it open because that keeps it good. So now we need a diced onion. It says a half of one, so I just used a half cup of what I diced up. I usually count a cup is 1 medium onion, and this said a half of a small, so I just still did the half cup just because that's easy. And we need 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, and then we need thyme, a teaspoon of thyme, a half teaspoon of dry mustard powder, a half teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And if you can see right here, I got all those in the dish, and we'll just, it does say on the original recipe to sprinkle them. I think we're just going to, over each pork chop, we're just gonna mix these around real good so that they all get a little bit covered. We could even add a little bit of water because they are gonna, if you cook it in the Instant Pot, they'll cook in a little bit of water or chicken broth. There's chicken broth on this recipe, but I only use it for steaming and bringing the Instant Pot to steam. So that is all this one needs, and that was really fast, as you can see, to put that together. I'll stack it on my stack. And the last one we're going to do is low-carb orange chicken. Now this is going to be a little higher carb than a lot of your low-carb recipes, but it's still not as bad because we're going to eat it over cauliflower rice. I'm going to use a cup of orange juice and the zest of 2 oranges. Now this is the most carby part, but keep in mind when you're eating these that you're not going to eat all of the sauce. I mean, it cooks in it, but you're not going to be eating all of it, so it's safe to say that you're not going to get every amount of carb that is in this sauce right here. So I kind of forgot to open up my chicken and start that, but actually before I do, I think I'm going to finish making the sauce and then I'll add that to it so we can mix it up nicely. All right, so it also called for a 1/4 cup of, no, it called for a 1/2 cup of amino acid or a low carb soy sauce. I switched it to a 1/4 cup because every time I use the amino acids, which is what this is, it's too soy saucy for me. So I cut that in half, and usually that's plenty good for me anyway. And then it's a 1/4 cup of erythritol, which I do not have, so I use monk fruit sweetener. And they're pretty comparable on substituting. I think you use a little more monk fruit than you do erythritol, but I just did the same amount because it was close. And then arrowroot starch. I also made a substitution for this and used xanthan gum. And then I've got to add the minced garlic. And now I've got sesame seed oil. Excuse my dog barking in the background. Rice vinegar, ground ginger, and pepper flakes. Okay, next is a tablespoon of sesame oil. I didn't have this pre-measured because I was running out of pre-measuring cups. And then, let's see, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. 1, 2. So now we need a tablespoon of ginger powder. It's kind of clumpy, but it won't matter because I'm going to mix it pretty well. And then a teaspoon of this red pepper. If you don't like your stuff spicy at all, leave this out. But it's really good for a little extra spice in it. All right, so this is the sauce that's going to be cooking in. Now I'm going to close this bag up and mash it up really well so everything gets nice and mixed. I could have used a spoon and stirred it. I just find it a little bit easier to mash it. Now, it looks a little clumpy, so make sure you get those clumps mixed up. And if you have too many clumps, you might want to stick it in your blender. I'm starting to wonder if I should do that. See that? See how clumpy it is? I'm gonna put it in the blender because it's not impressing me. Let's try this. Loud noise. It's much better. I might have thickened it though. Interesting. Yep, I thickened it. That's so weird. Actually, here it goes. That's pretty funny. Got rid of the clumps, but it thickened up into cream of chicken soup consistency or thick gravy. And then I'll just squish it all around. Now, this is once again more meat than it calls for. But it's the only size they had, and we love leftovers around here, especially when we're eating low carb. My daughter and I, she's 20, we like to eat leftovers for lunch a lot. Now you might, I don't know if you're used to buying fresh chicken or frozen chicken. I'm actually used to buying frozen chicken. Wow, I'm like a mess today. And so this chicken seems a little bit weird to me, but I found that you can get boneless in the fresh section, and I can only find bone in the frozen section. All right, so I'm mixing that all around. Now, if on cooking day it gets too thick, like this is looking pretty thick, which I don't think it will because the juices of the chicken usually thin things out. But if it looks too thick, just add a little more juice to it, or chicken broth if you like. But there's that one, and now we got all 4 of them done. So we are on a roll for this week. I've got 4 meals made. I already ate 2, and won't have to think about dinner too much this week now. All right, it just dawned on me that you may not know how to zest an orange for the orange chicken. So what I did when I was off camera is I took an orange and I washed it to make sure that any germs or dirt or anything is off of it. And then I took my grater, which I don't have a good grater. It doesn't have a handle anymore. I need to get a new one. But I took it and I just went along the grater over a plate, and that's what I put into the bag. So if you've never done that before, it's really simple. You just get it on all sides as much as you can, and then of course if you don't want to waste the orange, you need to eat it soon after or it will dry out. So all right, thank you so much for watching us on the Sidetrack Sarah show. We've gotten 4 meals put together. I will try to show you on a future video how to make zoodles, as well as how to make cauliflower rice for these low carb meals that I just prepared for our family. Now our family tends to just eat low carb together when any of us are on a low carb diet, but then the others might get additional things sometimes that I don't get, which is fine. And sometimes I make separate meals if I'm cooking for the blog or for YouTube or something, but overall we all eat the same thing. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to check out the next video. It will hopefully be showing you how all these recipes looked once they were done being cooked. It'll be a what's for dinner style of video. And be sure to subscribe by clicking the bell, and if you want to get notifications, double click the bell, and you will be notified anytime I do a new video about my slow cooker, Instant Pot, and easy food for busy people.